Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we're continuing our ongoing coverage of the war between the Russian Federation and the Ukraine. Now, today, there is quite a few news stories coming out of the mainstream media in the West about a Ukrainian offensive operation that is taking place to the northeast of Sumy in the direction of Kursk. Now look, Ukrainian forces, the Ukrainian military, is by no means on the verge of entering the Russian city of Kursk. They have entered the Russian region of Kursk, but are in no way threatening that major Russian city famous for the World War II battle. Now, what has happened is approximately 2 Ukrainian battle groups, about a battalion-sized each, numbering anywhere from 600 to 1,000 troops, have crossed the Russian border and are engaging Russian forces in this area. As we speak, the Russian Air Force, backed by helicopter gunships, drones, and multi-role fighter aircraft and ground attack aircraft using glide bombs, are attacking Ukrainian forces in this area. So why did the Ukrainians launch this operation when the absolute best outcome is to create 3 or 4 headlines? If we look at the headlines, France 24, thousands evacuated as Ukrainian troops launch attack in Russia's Kursk region. The Independent and the Ununited Kingdom, intense battles after major Ukrainian pierces border into Russia's Kursk. And those are the types of the Independent, intense battles, NTB News, Ukraine pierces Russian border, triggering major battle. Well, the reason this is happening is because of what's happening in Donetsk, further to the southeast in this area. So the Ukrainian front lines have been pierced, penetrated, and there are several Ukrainian units that are now being enveloped, in some case double enveloped, by Russian forces in these areas. I want to go back over to the deep state map and kind of show you what's happened. And let's bring this down here where you, the viewer, can kind of see. And then we'll go back in time. So the Ukrainians, as you can see here, and let's go fast forward from July 20th, zoom in a little more. You can see the challenges that the Ukrainian army is currently having. They have not been able to solidify their front lines, and the Russians continue to advance. Right here, this envelopment that I was talking about earlier. And there we have it again. Multiple breakthroughs have occurred. So what the Ukrainians are trying to do is not so much alleviate pressure by creating a distraction where they believe that the Russian military would redistribute troops to this area. That's not what's going to happen. And the Ukrainians know that. The Ukrainian high command, they're not idiots. They understand that they'll achieve a limited breakthrough in this area, and then the Russian forces will bring up reserve forces, better units, and then more importantly just air power, and then reduce those 2 battalions. But again, it's not designed to bring forces to this area. It's just designed to grab headlines and deviate kind of the the dissemination of information from the Russian breakthroughs that are happening in Donetsk and the continued challenges that the Ukrainian military is having in Donetsk to what's happening now in Kursk. And eventually, the Ukrainians essentially sacrificed 2 battalion sets of troops to try and create a media narrative. And unfortunately, they're going to lose 2 battalion sets. And at the end of the day, those battalion sets would have probably been more worthwhile engaging Russian troops in actual Donetsk. But again, as I've talked about before, several breakthroughs in this area, and along the whole line of contact, the Russians are just pummeling Ukrainian troops. And you barely hear anything about it on the news anymore here in the West. The only time you'll hear about it is if the Ukrainians pull what they just pulled in Kursk, and that will grab some headlines and bring some attention back on the conflict. But the American people don't want to be giving the Ukrainians $60 billion every 60 days, every 6 months, or whatever it is. It's insanity. The end of the day, this is a foregone conclusion of what's going to happen. The West is going to tire of this conflict, and that's going to be that. So that's where we set for today. We'll continue to watch what is happening near Kursk, northeast of Sumy, but we anticipate the Russians will kind of roll things up here within the next day or two, and it will be back to normal in this area, and we'll continue to see the Russian operations take place in Donetsk. And we'll continue to report on that. So thanks for joining us. More to come. As always, have a good day.